Welcome to this week's Future Toolbox podcast. We explore the Z to A of life skills, where each letter stands for a topic and essential tool to help you get ahead in life. Meet Jules and Mark, creators of the multi-award-winning Future Toolbox, and enjoy their straightforward approach to creating growth mindsets that help people turn their dreams into realities. Whether you're a teen in education, a parent, a teacher, or part of a community group, start creating positive habits from today.
Hello everybody and welcome to our latest Z2A podcast with me, Mark and Jules from the multi-award winning Future Toolbox.
Hello and welcome.
Now this is where we pick a letter and a topic and discuss how you can use our tools to improve your own personal development and life. So what is this week's topic?
This week's topic we have picked expectations. So that's E for expectations all around the upcoming Christmas period.
When we say the word expectations, it's also about how to manage them as we come into this really busy time where everybody's going to get ready for partying and celebrations and festivities. But what comes with that comes with high expectation, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Now, if you go back to when you were a child, we grow up believing that Christmas is an absolutely magical season filled with flying reindeers, talking snowmen, for example, and little elves who live on the North Pole, and they've spent all year making all the toys that Santa is going to put in his sleigh and deliver to every single home all around the world on one evening.
And that is exactly what happens, isn't it?
That's the truth. That is
Absolutely.
Exactly what happens. As a child, you believe it, and of course you believe it. And then you grow up and you realise, I'm not sure about this. But because we've had that ingrained in us, we wish or we long to believe that Christmas can somehow bring us that real sense of peace and joy and hope and all things like that. And we're all hoping for at least some of that magic of the season to be real.
It's very true because it's created by a lot of the media stuff that we have around us. So you put the TV on and you watch your favourite film. And it's always magical, isn't it? What's your favourite film?
Oh my goodness, there are so many favourite Christmas films. I love the Muppets one.
Oh, the Muppets Christmas Carol. Oh, that's wonderful.
I do love that one. I love the Grinch. I love Scrooge.
Oh, Scrooge, yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
And I know, actually, I remember because we were talking about Christmas and last year's Christmas podcast, and I remember actually saying my favourite films were Bad Santa and Home Alone.
Yeah.
And I still love those.
I know.
Home Alone was so cool because, again, it was such a magical thing. All the family were going on this amazing vacation. Obviously, they left one at home and they didn't realise that. But I hope that doesn't happen in real life, and that's not the magic of the Christmas. But yeah, when they got back, it was almost created that perfect Christmas. Of course, you have all the adverts on TVs as well, which want to sell us all these products. And people get excited about certain adverts coming out this time of year.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because as a child, I remember the adverts were the way for people to sell their products to the children. But then catalogues were coming out. So you could actually search through catalogues, pick out your Christmas gifts that you wanted.
And then also at school, you had your nativity play. And I remember being in a couple of nativity plays. Now, funny enough, as I've mentioned in a few previous podcasts, I was never a confident child. So being on stage at that point would put fear into me. I would not want to stand up and perform in front of people. So I always got one of those parts where you played maybe the shepherd or the king that just put down a gift or something like that, and you didn't have to say anything.
Back end of a camel.
Yeah, I never played the back end of a camel.
Do they have camels on the nativity? I don't think they do,
No,
do they?
It might be a donkey. It might be a donkey or something. But yeah, I remember one year actually having a line that I had to remember, and I think it was 2 sentences. And I was really scared about messing it up. But the whole point of that was there was always the Christmas carols, the Christmas festivity, and then you had the Christmas nativity play.
Yeah.
And
such a lot of things to build it up. And now there's the whole Elf on the Shelf thing.
Oh, Elf on the Shelf, yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad I don't have to do that, because that pressure on parents or carers or whatever to do something different every single day with this elf. And we see it with our family, and we've been involved in the build up to Christmas with their doing the Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah,
it is pressure.
We've seen it take a lot of time as well to actually set up.
Yeah.
And then don't forget your advent calendar.
Of course.
Yeah, where you could count down the days as well.
Never used to have chocolate in it.
Do you know what? I remember the first year I ever got one with chocolate in it. That was magical. Having one little piece of chocolate every single day to start your day off before you went to school.
Gosh, you can have big presents in them now. You can even get ones that have little bottles of wine in.
Yeah, there's a beer one as well for me. There's a beer one for me. I haven't had one yet.
It has all gone a little bit crazy. But then what happens is we all end up with these huge, great big expectations. I mean, even as grown-ups, about Christmas.
I remember as kids, you would make that Christmas list and then you would probably post it to Santa or give it to your parents to post to Santa.
Oh, no, I used to post mine in the letterbox.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, that way you knew it went.
You knew it went there. You knew it got there.
You couldn't trust your parents to post it.
So then that posed the problem that you've written this Christmas list that you posted to Santa or your parents read it, and then you had that huge build up to the Christmas day where the kids are waiting for the present to be under the tree, and of course that's put the pressure on the parents now that they have to go and buy all these presents that the kids want.
I think Christmas list is a difficult one because you can get carried away with what you put on it and what you want, and if you're not careful, that's too much for your parents to do, and then they feel under immense pressure to work out which presents to get, especially if you've got like a big family. And imagine when you wake up on Christmas morning and not everything you want is under that tree. That disappointment.
It can be a bit sad, can't it? But if you think now as well, in today's age, it is actually quite hard to buy presents for a number of reasons. So first of all, people don't always wait for Christmas. Secondly, we used to walk around town and walk around all the shops and go Christmas shopping, whereas now we have online shopping. But on top of that, in the digital age, where you used to maybe buy a record on vinyl or a CD or something like that, or a DVD or a video, that's all digitally downloaded. So we don't really wait for that Christmas album to come out anymore. And I used to love opening my presents and getting a CD. It's the same also with books. There are certain books will come out at Christmas, but again, bookshops have sort of disappeared off the high street, and you just download something on Kindle or on a device now. There's a lot of pressure there to think, well, what do we actually buy for people? Because the shops don't exist on the high street as they used to. The products aren't there.
I think one of the things that you mentioned is people don't wait for Christmas anymore to get the things that they want. And I think that's making it even harder then when it is Christmas time. For example, our grandchildren, they have a lot now, a lot more than I think we did when we were their age. And I'm not saying whether this is right or whether it's wrong. It's just an observation. But then that just makes that Christmas a little bit harder because you think, well, they've already got that, or they've got that, they've got that. It makes it even more difficult. And then, of course, they will see the adverts and their expectations, or they can just pick out what it is that they think that they want, which could be hugely expensive because quite often they don't understand money at that point either.
So, of course, that's a lot of expense and Christmas presents. We're actually talking about buying gifts. But then there's also the expectation of the Christmas parties, the festivities, and bringing everybody together for that expectation of happiness, that we're all going to really enjoy this moment. We're going to love being together. We're going to stand around the Christmas tree as the snow falls from the sky and sing Christmas carols, and it's all going to be wonderful. It never snows on Christmas Day in England, does it?
Very rarely. Yeah, and we believe it's 'tis the season to be jolly. And quite often we don't feel jolly, not all the time. And because maybe we're not feeling particularly jolly, then we think, now what's wrong with me? I should be feeling happy. It's that time of year.
So maybe it's a bit of the pressure, but it's also that pressure of having to get together with everybody, to wear that brand new outfit for the Christmas do, to top last year's Christmas do or something like that. And to maybe meet up with people that, I don't really want to sound like a Scrooge here, but sometimes meet up with people that you don't really want to meet up with and hang out with. And we do a lot of that, don't we? We do that thing where we feel like we have to do something because everybody else does it. I call it the wedding syndrome. It's like people have to have that wedding because everybody else does it. And it's the same with any of these really, really big events in our life and big times of our year and everything. So that can be really, really tough.
Yeah, and sometimes I think the holiday can trigger some painful memories, because sometimes not so happy things happen around Christmas, and there may be some trauma that has been experienced in the past, and then of course that will trigger a painful memory, and that's quite difficult to manage, because the expectation of this whole happiness, and what about the whole perfection of Christmas as well?
Oh, there's the time where people are expecting the perfect Christmas, and we've talked so many times in the Future Toolbox since our existence about the word perfection. People want the perfect Christmas, they want the perfect everything, and we want the decorations to be perfect, the lights to be perfect, the food to be perfect, the presents, as we've just mentioned it, the parties. Now that perfection is created, and of course we've got the Instagram mentality where the pictures have to go on there and be enhanced to be even more perfect, created by the perfect looking adverts and the perfect looking films and everything like that. And at the end of the day, Christmas is just one day.
It is one day, and I read something the other day about the whole expectation of this perfect Christmas, and the snow doesn't fall. You said that very rarely does it fall, and often at Christmas, on Christmas Day, it's quite warm, isn't it? I'm not saying that it's 70 or 80 degrees, but it's not freezing cold. And here in Lanzarote, it just doesn't feel like Christmas when you're sweating buckets and wearing plastic sandals, do you know, flip-flops.
Actually, I quite prefer that.
It's kind of different. It is different. When it all starts to maybe not look so perfect, that's when you start feeling a little bit disillusioned, I think.
Of course, and it triggers lots of emotions, and extremely diverse emotions at the same time during this season.
Yeah, emotions are all over the place because of the excitement and the expectations. But also it kicks off things like frustration when you're trying to bake the wonderfully perfect, famous grandmother's Christmas cake and you can't find the ingredients.
And of course, we mentioned about the cost and how much we're spending on gifts. And sometimes we forget that people don't always have as much money to spare. I know people in the past that have racked up massive credit card bills or taken out loans to provide the Christmas gifts, and they probably don't really need to do that. They could probably keep the gifts a lot more simple, but they just go on a big spending splurge and then pay for it for the rest of the year. And that's not a great way forward always.
I know I talked to some people within our family who have emigrated. Often you can feel a little bit homesick or a little bit sad that you can't all get together for that lovely family reunion because it's just not feasible for whatever reasons. That could put a little bit of a dampener on the celebrations.
I do remember a couple of years ago, a few years back, we was travelling around Asia and we was in Sri Lanka, and we video called the family on the day that there was 2 Christmas parties going on. There was a family gathering at our house, which was really, really bizarre because
we weren't there.
And some of our family was staying there. And it just seemed really strange to see loads of people really enjoying themselves in our own home that we weren't in. And there was also a party going on at my mum's as well with another side of the family. And I just remember feeling absolutely devastated that we weren't there and felt massively homesick just for that day. I just wanted to be in that room. It was really, really tough.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the following day I was fine, and when we spent Christmas Day surfing on the beach, that more than made up for it. But it was that build up to Christmas. It was so difficult, wasn't it? And again, that is something we experience by being here in Lanzarote. We aren't just on somebody's doorstep sometimes. So those moments that we get back are precious, but they can be sometimes a little bit difficult when we're not there, we're not in the room.
I also think as parents, with the build up to Christmas, it can be really stressful managing getting your kids to parties or plays at school, making sure that you're getting all the ingredients to make the traditional meal that you're going to have. You've got to wrap the presents, you've got to bake the cookies. That can be quite stressful, so that's going to hamper your joy of Christmas, I think.
Yeah, and then that leads to the overwhelm, the fact that you're having to also have the expectation that maybe everybody's coming to yours for Christmas Day. And up until we started travelling over Christmas, pretty much everybody used to come to ours on Christmas Day. And again, there was a big expectation that Mark and Jules are going to do this. And I think we loved it. We absolutely loved it at the time. But they got to a time where sometimes it would end up being a big rush. And then you forgot you've got something. And then somebody would come and say, well, I actually want to eat that certain thing. And
I'll tell you what I did every year for about 3 years. I would do the turkey and all the trimmings because we had meat eaters for dinner. And obviously myself and Mark haven't eaten meat now for 10 years, 11
Probably
years.
even longer than that, isn't it? Yeah.
So I would have something different for us and other members of the family that don't eat meat. And for some bizarre reason, I would get everything ready and we'd sit down, and I'd forgotten to cook the non-meat, like nut roast or something.
I remember that, yeah.
And I did it for about 3 years running. I don't know what did.
I think the fourth year we stopped inviting people.
I think
we went travelling.
We went travelling instead because it was a lot easier for me.
But that is a good tip as well. If you take that statement, Jules and I are just saying there, we went off travelling. And I remember doing that a few times where we went away for Christmas and there was almost a little bit of that expectation. Well, what about us then? What are we going to do?
Yes, I know.
And again, this isn't lashing out to our family, but people do sometimes think that if you don't always do the same thing, the expectation is, well, what about me? What am I going to do? And sometimes you do have to be selfish. We know a lot of people now who go away and have a holiday at Christmas or go to a retreat somewhere, and it is about you. It's not always about everybody else. It's not always about the expectation.
I think it's quite key to set some boundaries around Christmas and help you get through it, particularly if there's a lot of demands on you or it's not your favourite time of year. So learn to say things like no to the invitations that are unrealistic for you to go to, because it might make you think that you're going to let people down by not going if you say yes, and then you're stretching yourself like really thin. So I would look at all the things that you may want to do or have been invited to and pick the ones that mean the most to you, and then you can say yes to them. But also put some flexibility in it, because you might say no and then come the day think, oh, I wish I'd said yes. So try and say, look, I'm not sure, can I leave it until the day because I've got a few things on and I don't want to stretch myself or put myself under too much pressure.
Yeah, so setting your boundaries, as you say, about putting yourself first, it's not always something we feel very comfortable with, and that can sometimes add a little bit more stress to creating this perfect Christmas and thinking, what is it everybody else wants? Self-care is a way of breaking the people-pleasing habit and ditching the preconceived ideas and maybe thinking, what is it I want? And just going with it, going with the moments and enjoying it. Let's face it, people work really, really hard all year round and they get this break over the festive period. Maybe it's time to just sit back and chill out and think, I need a bit of me time. I need a bit of time to relax instead of going, right, okay, it's Christmas. Let's ramp up the stress level as hard as we can.
And also, I think we are in a world of making sure that we're creating these amazing memories. And in creating these memories, we have to photograph everything, including your dinner, your giblets, whatever it is, and posting that all over social media. But try not to work hard on making it extra special and creating all these memories. Because I think what happens then is you may set your own kids up to try and achieve the impossible perfect Christmas themselves in the future. So I just think we're getting a little bit over the top with it all. And I think the best thing to do, this is again my own personal observation and thoughts, is keep it simple, keep it ordinary, keep it unplanned, because I've seen it in our family. It's planned to perfection. We're going to do that at this time, and then at that moment, that's when that goes in the oven. That's when this happens, and that's when we're going to open the presents, and we're not doing that. Just go with the flow. Keep it simple.
And I think if you do that, then that's when you get the best memories, because the simple memories are the best ones.
Absolutely.
And the ones that cost lots of money are sometimes things, you might get one or two that are really, really good, but it's that simplicity which will create the memory and create the imperfect Christmas.
Loveliest,
the
imperfect Christmas. Brilliant.
Okay, so if you're looking for last minute Christmas gifts, you can go to our website, futuretoolbox.co.uk, and you can visit our shop, because there are actually some real books on there that you can wrap up and put underneath the Christmas tree for somebody. And if you like quick and fast delivery, then I'm sure Amazon will get them out to you quicker. You can also find them on there. Just search for Mark and Jules Kennedy and you can find our books on there. We also have loads of free tips so you don't have to spend money on. We're also on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok.
TikTok.
You can find loads of videos on our YouTube channel, And you can reach out to us on LinkedIn because we are
everywhere.
Everywhere. Like Santa Claus on Christmas Eve, we are everywhere. And we look forward to catching you in the next episode. Keep enjoying that build up to Christmas, to the festive period, and we'll see you soon.
Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for the Z2A of Life Skills with Jules and Mark of the Future Toolbox. Don't forget to head over to their website, which is futuretoolbox.co.uk, where you can find lots of free resources, plus a host of books in the store, as well as subscribing to the membership site. Follow Future Toolbox Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Future Toolbox, and subscribe to their YouTube channel too.